the world as you know it show, and here's why you should not feel fine. This is a series of videos where I'm looking at things that are unreal or seem unreal, but they're actually real. So what I've done is I want you to get some information about this and become informed. So this video is going to be about hateful biased media. I kind of want to talk to you about that. If you're interested in finding out about how hateful biased media might have influenced our elections, keep listening. So this election was, to put it quite frankly, a shit show. Worst election ever. It was the two least desirable candidates that have ever run for office. It was an unbelievable just barrage of hateful stuff going back and forth. I mean, if you listen to the radio, if you listen to television, and I mean, both sides were bad. Left and right both had stuff going. But what's interesting is I didn't kind of know the facts on what happened behind the scenes, why the Democrats lost the election. A lot of you are scratching your heads going, what the heck happened? So the interesting thing is there's a really, really good special on by the public broadcasting system. It's a Frontline. I don't know if you ever heard of it. You can go online and Google it. So the show is Frontline. They do a lot of investigative stuff. And this is the series on Divided America. It's a two-part series. They put it on right before the inauguration. Each segment is about 2 hours, so it's, I hate to say it's about 4 hours worth of time, but you have to go through that much to look and see in depth what happened, why things broke down the way that they did. A lot of the reason that things broke down and what I kept hearing during that video is hateful, biased media. Now, in the case of the two past elections, it really was more hateful right. Because left-wing radio, if you listen to it, it's kind of like funny, ha-ha, they joke around, they make stuff, it's more cerebral, it's for liberals, it makes them think. The right-wing radio is a different story. Same thing with their TV. It's a little more sinister. It's a little more vitriolic. It's a little more just vile. I mean, when you listen to that stuff, there's vile hatred spewing out. And if you're on that side, if you are listening to that, you are getting pushed in this direction where you hate things. You hate Obamacare. Why? I don't know. Because this guy told me to hate it. You hate Obamacare. It's terrible. There's a funny story going around about a guy who basically, he was so glad that Obamacare was getting taken away. And somebody kind of pointed out to him, they said, well, you know, it's the Affordable Care Act. And the guy's like, no, 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 the Affordable Care Act was what they brought in to replace Obamacare. He goes, I don't have Obamacare, I've got the Affordable Care Act. The guy didn't even know that his own insurance was getting taken away. That's kind of how some of the people are. They're uninformed. So if you're just listening to that, if that's all you're getting, well, that's kind of what happened. And so in that election, when you listen to those people talk, and these are people, when you hear Rush Limbaugh, and you hear Mark Levine, or even watch Fox News. So the thing I have behind me, we'll talk about in a second, is going to be media bias and where things are. Fox News is really interesting. I watched them during the Women's March, the Women's Protest March. And what ended up happening was Fox News almost pretended like it wasn't going on. Even though there was more women at that in so many cities all across the world. Even Antarctica. So you had people all over protesting this, and their take on it was basically, it was liberal cities. So it's only those liberals, they're the ones that are out there. And it was crazy to hear that viewpoint, because it was skewed. So what I have right here, this is a thing that's on Imager. You can find this, IMGUR. All right, if you put in fake news, this thing will come right up. So what this is this is a little chart. Gives you an idea where different media outlets stand. So it kind of like is, there's a partisan bias here going right and going left, and then there's like a sensational or clickbait up to a thoughtful. So when you kind of look at these different news outlets and where they sit, if you look at like the lower left here, so this is left-leaning, sensational or clickbait. They're trying to throw a headline out there that's so outrageous you're going to click on it. So they're listing here Natural News, Addicting Info, David Wolf, Occupy Democrats, U.S. Uncut. But these are in the area where this is like not necessarily where you might want to get your news. You have things like MSNBC and the Huffington Post kind of rotate into this view. So then when you look at the lower right here is kind of dominated by Blaze, Red State, Daily Caller, InfoWars, and then, what's that? That's Breitbart. Oh, you mean the guy that's sitting there telling the president what to do. He used to run a website that is over here in the extreme right, clickbait, sensational, not necessarily true. This is kind of where the fake news comes from, these outfits. Now Fox News, you'll notice, is kind of right here, and what they do is they kind of swing up a little bit towards the middle, get some viewers that are in, and then they go off into this far right corner. Some of their stuff, and you can check them online and find out how factual they are. For any of your sources, your news sources, go online and see how credible they are, how accurate they are. There's a lot of talk around right now about fake news. So if you get the ones in the middle here, these are neither left nor right, might go a little bit either way depending on what's happening, but if you look at it, National Public Radio, #1. You, if you're a U.S. citizen, you pay for it, all right? BBC, Washington Post, New York Times, I know that our president isn't too happy with those, but here's where they kind of sit, really. So the NBC, ABC, American Press, and Reuters, all in the middle here, kind of giving you good information. The think pieces up here that kind of, once again, this takes a little more thought. These people look in depth at stuff, and there's a lot of information. Slate, Atlantic, The Guardian, Vox, Wall Street Journal, The Economist, Financial Times, and The Hill. So take a look at this. It's on Imager, fake news. So what I'm asking you for today, as far as getting involved, turn off biased media, left or right. They're both bad. What you want to do is get your media from a non-biased source. If somebody is giving you an opinion, that is their opinion. It's not your opinion. Somebody else is telling you what to think. If you want that, that's fine. I mean, there's a lot of people that they just go along with it, but it's hurting our country. It is tearing us apart. Hateful, biased media is tearing us apart. And what's the real reason for any of this? Advertising. Money. That's all they're doing. They're getting money. So basically, a guy like Rush Limbaugh, he has 13 million listeners. He's making money. Fox News, they're the #1 rated cable channel. 40% of all Republicans got their information for this election from Fox News. They're making a few coins. Fox News, by the way, Rupert Murdoch owns that. I've got another video on him coming up. Check that one out. Take a look at it. But anyhow, you can check out all my other videos. I'm going to be at this handle on Twitter. So basically, you can find the videos with that as the lead name, and then there's going to be a title of what the video is. But then I'm on Twitter. Twitter's kind of an interesting thing. I want you to follow me on there if you're interested in anything I'm saying. Donald Trump has about 23 million people following him. I don't know if I can get anywhere close to that, but I'd like to have a voice. I'd like to be able to be your voice if you think I'm making sense. So Twitter handle is @RealSockInit. I have another video about why I came up with that name, what happened. So check that one out. So thanks for paying attention. Hopefully I can get your vote. Thanks.